Business Dipti is on the other side of the desk. She's going to talk to us about the international newspapers, of course, being dominated really about the German papers. We're going to look at the man behind this explosion attack late on Sunday evening there, Dipti.
That's right, Stuart. The German paper Die Welt is carrying this photo that we've been seeing on a lot of other German papers as well. And its lead article this morning, 27-year-old blew himself up. There's not a lot of details right now. Authorities are calling it a deliberate act. I want to show you also the Frankfurter Allgemeine. There you have a photo of forensic police. Stuart, it's the third such attack in Bavaria in the last week, and the Frankfurter Allgemeine reports that the man who detonated the bomb was allegedly a Syrian refugee who had come to the country as an asylum seeker 2 years ago. His application was refused, and since then, he'd been living in Germany, sort of under the radar, living in a hotel in Ansbach, the city where this attack took place. He was also housed in a psychiatric hospital and had attempted to commit suicide twice. But authorities aren't ruling out a possible terrorism link to the attack.
Yeah, lots more details, I'm sure, will emerge on that during the day. We'll bring it to you, of course, here on the programme. Now, the Democratic National Convention, we've been saying, starts later today. Hillary Clinton formally becoming the Democratic presidential candidate, kidding off under a bit of a cloud of scrutiny and scandal, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, before the convention even begins, the Democrats have lost the DNC's chairwoman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She resigned yesterday after, of course, thousands of hacked emails were leaked on Twitter on Friday showing strong signs of bias towards Clinton from the Democratic Party. Now, Wasserman Schultz had said, for instance, that Bernie Sanders would never become president. That's what the Wall Street Journal is reporting. She also rather humiliatingly brought into question his Jewish faith. For the Journal, this really goes to show how much discord there is within the party, and I quote, a primary campaign marked by party infighting and smears.
Now, the scandal has actually even been taken up a notch now, hasn't it, Dipti? Some Democrats blaming Russian hackers for this document dump of the emails in the first place.
Well, the New York Times put it best, this title, as Democrats gather, a Russian subplot raises intrigue. It all sounds very interesting. This article is quite an in-depth piece that you can read about. The Democrats argue, for instance, the timing is suspicious. The emails were hacked just after the Republican National Convention and days before the Democratic one. And so they allege that it was possibly designed to bring down Clinton and somehow help Trump. Adding to that, of course, Donald Trump told the New York Times last week that he might not back NATO allies if they came under attack from Russia, drawing into question just how closely aligned the two are, Trump and Putin. They sort of have, a bromance. They've sort of praised each other publicly and expressed their mutual admiration. But there's also Trump's campaign advisor. His name is Paul Manafort, who was one of many American image advisors to Viktor Yanukovych, who is, of course, the exiled Russian-backed Ukrainian leader. But for the moment, Trump's team has denounced these allegations as nothing but a smear campaign.
Another Russian story for you now. Many criticising the IOC's decision to lift that blanket ban on the Russian Olympic team heading to Brazil over those doping allegations.
Outcry, that's what the Guardian is reporting this morning as Russia avoid blanket games ban. For instance, Dick Pound, a former president of the World Anti-Doping Agency, says the decision shows that there is, quote, zero tolerance for doping, except in the case of Russia. Now, others are lamenting what they call a missed opportunity for the IOC to really come down hard on the issue of doping. They also say that it just goes against the spirit of the Olympics. What's interesting to note, though, is that the Moscow Times has sort of taken a different tone in its coverage. Look at this headline here. Game on. Russia handed unexpected Olympic lifeline. So a lot more upbeat, a lot more positive. The article says that Russian officials have breathed a, quote, sigh of relief. They described the decision as a bright spot in what's been an otherwise torrid year for Russian sport.
And you found an interesting article, haven't you? This is in The Independent, saying that this decision was the right one.
That's right. This article actually goes completely against what we've been seeing in a lot of the press. The writer, Mary Dejevsky, is a political commentator. She says that the decision was right because the Olympics are about individual performance. That means athletes shouldn't suffer as a whole for the actions of few. Furthermore, she asks, why are Russian athletes in Rio having to be penalized for what was allegedly committed in Sochi?
And we're going to end on what one journalist is calling a return to nostalgia.
Well, we lost a lot of great people this year. David Bowie, Prince, Muhammad Ali, not to mention what's turning out to be quite a bloody, violent 2016. So it turns out that we're desperately yearning for the days of yesteryear. The proof, well, there's a Clinton trying to get into the White House. And think of all the reruns we're seeing.
Loads.
These examples, courtesy of our producer, Chris Bauer, Star Trek,
Yes.
Ghostbusters,
Yes,
The X-Files,
they're all back.
not to mention Pokemon making its comeback.
yeah.
And the Spice Girls and Backstreet Boys also on comeback tours. But what's interesting is that nostalgia used to be considered a disease, according to a Swiss physician, that could lead to anxiety, insomnia, and disordered eating. But today it's used more as escapism for simpler times.
That's very, very true. We'll all be playing with our Rubik's Cubes within the hour. Thank you very much to Dixie with the papers and Kate with Business on France 24. More coming up.